Good evening. I'd like to call the Tuesday, June 20th, 6 p.m. school board meeting to order. We're going to start with a moment of silence, so everybody please rise. Thank you. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight were the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, and be seated. Special announcements. I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Conklin.
Superintendent Middlestat, we know it's your last meeting this evening, and we would just like from the board to present you with a little retirement gift. And we know that you like to fish and you have a boat, and so we thought you would use a good Yeti cooler, and there's a little gift card inside as well.
Oh, thank you, Ward.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're going on to the spotlight. Do you have anything, Superintendent?
Madam Chair, if you want to go back and do roll call.
Oh, that does help, doesn't it? I'm all excited. Let's do roll call.
Christy Chong, present.
Will Furry, present.
Sally Hunt.
Colleen Conklin, present.
Cheryl Massero.
Kathy Middlestat.
Okay, so we're down to spotlight. Do you have anything to add for strategic plan spotlight?
What I would like to do, Madam Chair, is pass on my time for the strategic plan spotlight to give more time to the next agenda item, which is celebrating our 22-23 retirees for Flagler schools.
That would be wonderful. 3.02, spotlight celebrating the 22-23 retirees. Mr. Uldet.
Chairman Massaro, Superintendent Middlestat, school board members, it is my distinct pleasure and a true honor to go ahead and recognize our Flagler County Schools retirees for this school year. It goes without saying that we are both privileged and proud and honored to have this opportunity to recognize our employees for their years of service. We're going to begin by calling names of employees who are here, and we're going to ask them to come up to the front, and we'd love to have you, if possible, come down from the dais so we can have a group picture. I will also go ahead and at that time call the names of the folks who had already started their retirement early and hit the road or hit a cruise, or so the folks that couldn't make it with us. So without further ado, Cynthia DeLance, 10 years outstanding service. Thank you. Elizabeth Howe, 17 years service. Thank you. Kathy Shopovic, 18 years service. Thank you. Robbie Carroll, 13 years service. Thank you. Ursula Carroll, 22 years service. Thank you. Johnny Mae Hyman, 26 years service. Thank you. Maria Prazeres, 16 years service. Thank you. Maria McGovern, 28 years service. Thank you. Ed Beckett, 35 years service. Thank you. And Phyllis Pearson, 24 years service. Thank you. All right, once again, if we could get a picture and everybody say cheese.
You want us down there or up here? That's what I thought.
We say retirees. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Retirees.
Thank you so much, folks. I'm now going to go ahead and just kind of read off the names of our retirees who could not make it with us this evening. Nancy Sanchez, 23 years. Michael Robinson, 23 years. Linda Mayer, 22 years. Emil Eggison, 15 years. Marianne Quincy Swinsky, 18 years. Eugene Valerie, 16 years. Victoria Shear, 21 years. Charisse Franklin, 33 years. Penelope Greb, 24 years. Ken Siebel, 30 years.
Wow.
Jana O'Neill, 15 years. Steve Hammonds, 27 years. Lawrence Tannenbaum, 34 years. Marilyn LeDrew, 32 years. Lori Ronan, 23 years. William Tuttle, 26 years. Yelena Fredericks, 24 years. Laura Hopkins, 7 years. Suzanne Bowman, 18 years. Patricia Philbin, 12 years. Martha Company, 12 years. Nicholas Petraglia, 17 years. And Verna Johnson, 16 years. Thank you all for your service. Thank you, Board.
Legends leaving.
Yep, they'll all be missed, every one of them. So now it's time for our youth to step up. We need new people, so please apply, okay? All right. Next, we're going to go to 3.03, Flagler School State Champion. Yes.
Good afternoon, Chair, school board members, Superintendent Middlestat. I have the honor tonight to introduce our state champions. Tonight, we do have two gentlemen, and we do have a coach tonight representing another state champion. But tonight, we are going to recognize the 3 state champions from Matanzas High School and the one from Flagler Palm Coast High School. At a later date, we will recognize Matanzas High School girls wrestling. So, Mr. Butler, if you can come up and speak about the coaches, and Ms. Bozeman. And then I will speak on behalf of FPC tonight.
Chairperson Massaro and chair members, Superintendent Middlestat, thank you guys so much for having us and recognizing our athletes tonight. Winning a state championship is a huge thing because it takes a lot more than just talent to get to that point. It takes grit, takes determination, takes hard work, takes relentless effort, discipline. a commitment to a standard that is so high, not just on the field and what they're doing in athletics, but a standard in their entire life to everything that they do. And I can tell you that all three of our state champions live up to that standard every day. I can tell you Cole Hash was up at 5:30 this morning working out and going to workouts to lead his team. Alexandra Gazzoli, who was also the Florida State Golfer of the Year this year, is out of state right now competing against some of the best golfers in the nation. And Brielle Bibla, sorry, they're sisters. I get them mixed up. I'm trying to figure out which one's which. And then Brielle Bibla is out of state right now with our girls wrestling team, wrestling against some of the best wrestlers in the nation. So we're very proud of our student athletes at Matanzas and especially the state champions. And I know that it wouldn't be possible without our wonderful coaches. So at this time, I would like to bring up our head football and weightlifting coach, Matt Forrest, and our head girls golf coach, Brandy Allred.
Hello. First, thank you for having us. We very much appreciate it. I'm honored to be Alexandra's golf coach. She is actually just finished the Florida Women's Amateur Tournament in Innsbruck, and she placed 5th in the state, and so she is on to big and great things. I feel like my job as a coach is to provide opportunities for the student athletes so that they can teach, so they can reach their full potential. Alexandra, she embodies the best of what our school has to offer, and for our young people. So I'm thank you for this opportunity, and hopefully we'll be back again next year. So, and she has committed to Florida State University. So.
Oh, okay.
Board, appreciate you having us again here tonight. Cole, you can go ahead and come up. I'm going to talk a little bit about him as he's walking up. Cole Hash really, he was a guy that was here my first year here, and 2020 is not the best year to come in and take over a football program, especially when it's your first time being a head football coach at the ripe old age of 32 years old, I believe, 31, 32 years old. But Cole embodies, if you look at what our program stands for and the work ethic that we put into it and the grind that we do every day and just the things that we do on the field and off the field, you know, being a leader in the classroom, being a leader in the community, and being a leader in our football program, Cole is it. And I know I say football program, but the weightlifting team is an extension of our football program. I think we got, 38 kids that are football players out of the 40-man roster. So it's kind of one of those things that it helps us build our football program. And in return, because of the work they're putting in 12 months out of the year, you know, he goes from football, and then as soon as football's over, weightlifting starts. As soon as weightlifting's over, he goes to track. And then he runs track, and then guess what? At 6 a.m. from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m.-ish, 9:30-ish, he comes to morning workouts 4 times a week during the summer. And that's just a result of what he's done to buy in. It's a product of his family and how he was raised. And I just cannot say enough good things about this kid. He's going to be a leader in whatever community he chooses to go to. If he stays here, he's going to be a great leader and somebody that everybody can look up to in this community. And wherever he goes beyond here, if he chooses to leave and better himself, he's going to be a leader there as well. And he's going to represent our school and our community with the utmost respect. And very proud of Cole Hash being a state champion this year. And, and again, he's only a junior, so he'll be a senior. So hopefully his goal is to have 2 state championships next year. He wants to do the traditional and the Olympic. So hopefully he'll be up here again next year. And if he keeps working the way he is, there's no doubt that he will be. So thank y'all for this opportunity.
Excellent.
Ah, nice. Very nice.
So if Gerard, you can come on up. So a little bit about the background on why we waited until the June meeting. We knew going into this, we represented our state champions in May last year. We thought we had a really, really good shot of either a long jumper winning a state championship our 4x4 or another relay team winning a state champions. So we waited till June to make sure we had an opportunity to recognize somebody from FPC, because we had a really good idea that somebody was going to win states. So a little bit about Gerard, and this is from Coach G. He was on his way over, but he got stuck in traffic, so he apologized. But this is from his coach, and he's a jumpers coach. But he says Gerard is truly a one-of-a-kind athlete. His jump at the state meet of 7.43 meters, or 24 feet and 4.5 inches, was the second furthest jump in school history. The furthest jump in the state Florida, the FHSAA state championship, and was number 14 in the nation. He won the 4A state championship by nearly a foot. When you went up to UNF for the Bob Hayes Invitational, he outjumped that jump by 1 foot. Is that correct? So going into state, we knew somebody was going to come from FPC. So Gerard is a senior this year. Do you have plans? He's going to go to the University of New Mexico Institute of. Yeah. So we did have a student athlete in Flagler County as well that went to that same college. Yep, and you're going to go play football. So we're excited for him to do big things next year over there, and we cannot express our gratitude for you and your coach. Mr. Bosserdet, speaking with him all throughout the year, and his journey over there at FPC is athletics was, something that he has an interest in. So, Mr. Bosserdet has his hands filled next year, and he's doing great things over there, and we cannot thank Mr. DiAugustino, the athletic director, the outgoing athletic director, and the new athletic director coming in. So they're going to be doing good things over there. So, congratulations.
That is neat. That's a long. Yeah. Wow.
Well, let's look forward to
Congratulations.
it.
That's awesome. Congratulations, coaches, as well.
All right, we're going to go to approval of minutes. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, we'll consider them as approved. Superintendent Middlestat, do you have any additions or changes to the agenda?
I have none.
Okay. Then we're up to public comment. Public comment. Ms. Gavin.
So the first speaker is David Leiden on social studies, which is up for approval.
All right, before we begin public comment, please note that you cannot address any of our individual school board members, but only us as a group, or myself directly as chair. There's no clapping or yelling or hooting or hollering. If you are in favor of what you see, please feel free to raise your hands like this. You're welcome.
Good evening, Board. I'm Dave Leiden, the Flagler County Veteran Services Officer, and I believe this falls under social studies. I share this concern with you on behalf of the Flagler County Veterans Advisory Council and the local veteran service organizations. For more than 20 years, the Flagler County veterans have been invited into the schools in the 6 to 8 weeks leading up to Memorial Day and Veterans Day as part of the Veterans in the Classroom program. It has done so in support of Florida Statute 48, Chapter 1003, Section 42. The people who comprise the Veterans in the Classroom presenters have typically been retired commissioned officers who have military instructor experience, have taught school themselves, and one who is a chaplain and a PhD. They have been very mindful of their audience when sharing their thoughts about a veteran's perspective of what it means to be a veteran, an American, respect for, and what our U.S. flag represents, and the meaning of Memorial Day and Veterans Day. Inappropriate war stories are not part of the program. The presenters formally received upwards of 80 to 100 invitations leading up to each holiday. This past spring, there was just one invitation. Last Veterans Day, just 10. The year before that, 10 to 15. In the midst of the pandemic, naturally, visits were suspended or discouraged, which is understood. But even prior to COVID, the numbers of invitations were plummeting. The communication and cooperation with the program was suffering. It became evident the program was not so welcome as in the past. We've been told time and time again that the teachers are under immense pressure to fulfill mandatory increasing educational requirements and to do it in the same number of instructional hours as they've always had. Perhaps. But other veterans or military-centric programs have too had lackluster support by the school district. In 2018, the Military Service Honor Cord program was initiated with the support of Superintendent Taggart. The program awards a red, white, and blue braided honor cord to the high school seniors joining the armed forces after graduation for wear with their gown on graduation day. In the first couple of years of the program, we felt like we had full support from the guidance counselors who helped us identify which students should get a cord. That support has also eroded in recent years, with Mr. D'Agostino at FPC Guidance Office being the exception. On the positive side, both the junior ROTC programs have a great relationship with our local veterans organizations, readily supporting the county's veterans and graciously facilitating scholarships being awarded to their cadets from generous organizations. We are concerned that the competing ideologies have diminished the importance of veterans and what they mean to America. I implore the school board to hear these concerns, to not let the school district distance itself from incorporating veterans and the values they have to offer into the classroom, or as an interactive complement to the state's civic literacy requirements. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Mike Cocciola regarding Guardians and book review.
Board, I'm Mike Cocciola from Palm Coast. Thank you for allowing me to speak. You know, I spoke about the issues before. One is the Guardian program, and one is the issue of the process for reviewing books for whether they should be pulled from school systems. On the Guardian issue, I'll repeat once again, I've done a lot of personal research, and I have never found personal research that says if you have a shooting situation, throwing more guns into that situation is the answer. More guns is never the answer. I don't know what the answer is, but throwing more guns in our school is not the answer. However, if you make the decision to do that tonight or some other night, then I recommend strongly that you go with the most professional officers, law enforcement, that you can find rather than a civilian who might be a janitor or a staff member or something. In a stressful situation when adrenaline hits hard, firing a 15-round Glock around the hallways is never a good answer. You may cause more damage than was started originally by the intruder. Second thing is the school book review. I don't know if that's going to be discussed tonight. I was hoping it would be, but if not, it'll be discussed soon, I'm sure. And I'm here to urge you, strongly urge you. We have a process that works. You'd have helped develop that process. The superintendent helped develop that process. The school system helped develop the process that we have. It meets state standards, as I'm pretty convinced. Why would you not only approve the continuance of that process, but why wouldn't you, if you need to strengthen it, then do it? But you don't throw the process out because someone, maybe in this audience, would complain about it. It's a good process. Please consider strongly continuing that process. If there's something that you notice that could be improved, then you improve it. Thank you.
Next speaker is Gary Owens, Social Studies, Instructional Materials.
Thank you all for having me here tonight. My name is Gary Owens. I live in Palm Coast. I hold various positions in veterans organizations. I'm the Flagler American Legion Post 115 Adjutant, Legion Riders 115 Director, the American Legion Sun Squadron 115 Advisor. I'm paid up for life with the VFW and the DAV, and I'm an AMVETS member. The American Legion's core principles are our 4 pillars: Veterans Affairs and Rehabilitation, National Security, Americanism, and Children and Youth. I am here tonight to ask you why we as veterans organizations seem to not be recognized, responded to, included, and respected as valuable members of the community with a wealth of desire and knowledge to serve, help, and mentor when and where needed by the Flagler County School District. A couple programs that used to be well received and requested included the Veterans in the Classroom, Boys and Girls State programs, and recently our American Legion Riders Scholarship. Other than the excellent ROTC programs at each high school, ever since the COVID fiasco, it seems that there has been a drastic change in the culture and relationship between the Flagler County schools and the veterans organizations. Where we used to get 10 to 14 delegate applications from each of our high schools to absolutely no help from Matanzas and a whopping 2 interested juniors from FPC this year. We have historically sent 4 or 5 delegates and offered 2 more as alternates. What happened? 2021, we offered 2 $1,000 scholarships to a graduating senior from each of the high schools. FPC, we got 16 applications. Matanzas, zip. I have emailed and left messages with Matanzas staff, counselor, and principal, and no response. Memorial Day came on May 29th to honor those that made the ultimate sacrifice so that you may teach our children. Do the kids even know what Memorial Day is other than a 3-day weekend? Flag Day was June 14th. Do the students know the history and meaning of our U.S. flag? I saw some here tonight that stood up. They didn't know about putting their hand over the heart or anything. Who's teaching them about the U.S. flag? You, for some reason, are missing out on being able to instill American history and values in our youth by excluding the county's vast experience of local veteran organizations. I ask you to, again, reach out to the veterans that took an oath many years ago and still want to serve today. We are your allies. Respectfully, for God and country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Shannon Rambo, Guardian Program.
Hello, Board.
Welcome.
Shannon Rambo, Chapter Chair of Moms for Liberty. I'm honored to follow that gentleman. I have some veterans that have always volunteered with us, and we have called many times also to the schools to try to get our veterans. They want to volunteer, make a difference in our community. I have tried many times to do the same thing, and they have done the same thing to me. No reply, no follow-ups. We've tried many times to do that, so we stand behind them 100%. And we are actually just here tonight to stand behind the Guardian program. I'm glad we're going to make a decision on that, I hope tonight. What some people maybe don't understand is it's been talked about a lot. I mean, I'm over a year. The board before, the new people, they've talked about it. Now you guys are talking about it. It's been talked about. Now we need to make a decision and then iron out details. It's not perfect right now. It's just the idea of getting it implemented. And security is number one for our kids. I mean, our teachers, faculty, kids, everybody should feel safe at school, and people need to understand more about this program. There's a lot of hours that go into it. There's hundreds of hours of training. It is a lot of training, a lot of background checks. It's not just anybody. It is really gone through in great, great detail. I know a lot about it, and I think it would be very important to bring it into our schools any way we can help. And that's why we're here, so thank you.
Richard Fay, Guardian Program.
Thank you. I'm here to speak of the Guardian Program, and I just want to reiterate what the woman said before, is that it's not perfect. None of us are perfect, and what I'd like you to do at this time is, for the duration of my time, is to sit and reflect about the decision you're going to make this evening, knowing that I'm opposed to it. I think it's dangerous. We don't need more guns in schools. So I'm going to ask that you reflect upon the decision you're going to make this evening for the next 2.5 minutes. Thank you for sharing this time with me.
Thank you.
Chair Massaro, that concludes the public comments that are related to the matters that are on the agenda before you this evening.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to go to 6.02, Social Studies Instructional Materials, Public Comment. So if you have comment specifically to the Social Studies Instructional Materials, did anybody sign up for that?
They've
No.
already spoken.
That
The
was
social
it?
studies were
Okay.
already included.
All right, so we're going on to 7, Resources, Supports, and Consent. Now, we're going to go probably pretty quickly here. Please understand that we have workshopped all these topics in great detail, so it will pass these quickly, or whatever the outcome would be. But it's not that we haven't done our fair share of work on these. All right. So you look at resources 701 to 710, 701 to 710. Does anybody have any discussion or information they'd like to have or questions? Seeing none, can I have a motion
Move to approve.
and a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Furry and a second from Ms. Chong. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Going down to academic services, that is 901 to 906. Are there any questions or concerns? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move approval?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Dr. Conklin and a second from Mr. Fury. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We're going on to 10, operational services. I actually need the motion first before we discuss it. Proportionate share agreements, 1001, 1002, 1003. I need a motion.
Move approval.
Ms. Chong, a second.
Second.
Mr. Furry. All right, we have a first by Ms. Chong and a second by Mr. Furry. Are there any conversations or concerns? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Human Resource Services, 11. 1101 to 1103. I don't think we did that. Are there any, I need a motion?
Move approval?
Second.
I have a motion from Dr. Conklin, a second from Mr. Fury. Questions or concerns? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. School Board Attorney Consent, 1301, permission to advertise new online agreement policy and updates to student records policy. I need a motion.
Move approval.
Ferry, a second.
Second.
Chong, we have Mr. Ferry as the motion, and we have Ms. Chong as the second. Any conversation? Hearing none, we'll go call the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. All right, now we're going to action. 1601, Solution Tree Professional Development. Presenter, Mr. Reeves, or who's presenting for Mr. Reeves? Okay.
Good evening, Chair, Board, Superintendent Middlestat. As shared at the workshop, we are seeking approval of the contract for the upcoming 2-day training, which will be the PLC at Work. Through this training, participants will learn about the benefits of PLCs, how to ensure that PLCs foster a collaborative culture, and determine the critical areas that PLCs should address. Solution Tree's PLC at Work process includes 3 big ideas of a PLC, which is to focus on student learning, focus on collaboration, and focus on results. In the attachment, you can see the agenda items and some of the topics that will be covered, which include those big 3 and SMART goals and some other focus areas that Solution Tree has. The other thing that the PLC at Work training will coincide nicely with our Unified District Data Chat Protocol, which we are rolling out, that Dr. Stefanchik has been working with our directors and administrators on, and we'll be rolling these out to go hand in hand with the PLC so that these really are a data-driven process to ensure that student success and results are at the focus of everything that we do. Do you have any questions for me at this time?
Let me get a motion. Motion.
Motion to approve.
Ms. Chong, a second.
Second.
Ms. Conklin. Floor is open for conversation. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Liz. All right, 16.02, Social Studies Instructional Materials, recommended textbook adoption. Okay. Ms. Furr.
Good evening, Chair, Board, and Superintendent. As you are aware, we have gone through the adoption process for the K-12 Social Studies instructional materials. This process began in January, and we are asking for your approval of the recommended materials. If approved tonight, the 30-day objection window opens tomorrow, June 21st. The digital form for objection is available on our website under Teaching and Learning, then Instructional Materials. A committee of parents, teachers, and administrators for each grade band were convened during the week of May 22nd. The following materials are being recommended for adoption. For elementary school, K-5, Gallopade. For middle school, World History, Civics, and U.S. History, Cengage, National Geographic. For high school, World History, Government, and Economics, SAVIS. And for high school U.S. History, TCI.
I need a motion.
Move to approve.
Okay, Ms. Hunt.
Second.
Furry. All right, we have a motion from Ms. Hunt and a second from Mr. Furry to approve the social studies instructional materials. The floor is open for conversation. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Operational services, a resolution adopting the Guardian Program. Mr. Woolahan. And could you introduce your cast of characters here?
Absolutely. Good evening, Board, Chair Massaro, Superintendent Middlestat. Tonight I have with me from the Flagler County Sheriff's Office, Commander Nawrocki and Chief Williams. They oversee our Youth Services Division for our school district. Florida State Statute 1006.12 allows the school district's governing board discretion that the school district may participate in a Guardian program. This resolution outlines the board's desire to devise and implement a Guardian program and directs the superintendent to work closely with the Flagler County Sheriff's Office. Attached, you will find the resolution that reads as follows. A resolution of the School Board of Flagler County, Florida regarding school safety. Whereas the School Board of Flagler County, Florida, the school board consisting of 5 elected Florida constitutional officers is the governing body for the school district of Flagler County, Florida, the district. Whereas the safety of all children is the highest priority of the school board, and as such, the school board is deeply saddened by any tragic event at a school, including but not limited to the tragic events at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida on February 14, 2018, as well as many others. Whereas the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act requires each district school board and superintendent to partner with law enforcement agencies to establish or assign one or more safe school officers at each school facility within the district by implementing a combination of options that best meets the needs of the school district. Whereas the district has school resource deputies and desires to have a force multiplier for additional protection to enhance safety and to add another layer of security in our schools. Whereas the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act, enacted by the 2018 Florida legislature, established a Coach Aaron Feist Guardian program to aid in the prevention or abatement of an active assailant incident on school premises. Whereas the school board desires to implement and the Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley has agreed to establish a Chris Hickson, Coach Aaron Feist, and Coach Scott Beigel Guardian Program. Where there are very specific legal requirements to establish a Guardian Program, a candidate for the Guardian Program must undergo extensive training that will be provided by the Sheriff's Office in accordance with Florida State Statute 1006.12. Whereas, in keeping with the school board's paramount concern for the safety of the district's students, the school board desires to memorialize its positions on the importance of school safety and enact a Guardian Program within the district. Therefore, be it resolved, the school board adopts the following resolutions in support of school safety as follow. 1, the school board supports the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act, coupled with sustainable funding to fully implement. 2, the school board intends to utilize all options available to meet the requirements of Section 26 of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act for the protection and safety of school personnel, students, visitors, and property. 3, the school board desires to implement a Guardian Program to serve as a force multiplier for additional security and safety. The Guardian is in addition to the SRDs who currently serve our schools. 4, the school board directs the superintendent to work closely with Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley in devising and implementing a Guardian Program. The safe operation of the program shall be the central concern, as well as compliance with the specific statutory requirements set forth in State Statute 1006.12, which includes extensive training, a psychological evaluation, a drug test, and drug testing. 5, the sole purpose of a Guardian is to prevent or abate an active assailant on school premises. As such, the Guardian should have no authority to act in any law enforcement capacity except to the extent necessary to prevent or abate an active assailant. A candidate for the Guardian Program shall be a volunteer. Candidates must be a full-time employee of the district who are in good standing. Any candidate for the Guardian Program that fails any part of the application process, including the background check and any part of the training, psychological, or drug test, is automatically barred from the program. And the superintendent is directed to draft policies and procedures to effectuate this resolution.
All right, I need a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Furry and a second from Ms. Chong. Now the floor is open for conversation.
I'll just say for the public's knowledge that, and I hope it's okay to say this, that we've had executive session about this topic where a lot of questions were asked and answers given. That's why you haven't heard a lot about the details, because it involves safety and our children. We met with the, is it okay to say that we met with the Suwannee County superintendent and assistant superintendent to see what their model was like and how they have effectively implemented this program. And I feel very confident in that going forward. And, you know, this isn't a situation where people are going to be running around with guns. It's not going to be like that at all. So hopefully we can move forward and take some next steps.
Anybody else?
I have a few thoughts on it. I think throughout the process, I've maybe been the minority vote or thought on this. But speaking of Suwannee County, I am not comfortable with, I think on behalf of our wider community, I think we're just going to have far too many families who are not comfortable if there is an option ahead of us that is a concealed carry, where our staff, our teachers, our staff, our parents, and our students walk around campus not knowing who has a deadly weapon with them. That's just I find that very unsettling. I think a lot of people find that very unsettling. And I want to be very clear. I am supportive of the Guardian program in some form. I think I mentioned in a previous workshop, looking at something like the campus advisor role. Dr. Conklin has brought up job description, including perhaps retired law enforcement, semi-retired law enforcement. So the vote tonight is tough. Dr. Conklin also has brought up, okay, if we approve this tonight, we would still, as a board, set policy at a later date. I'll be really honest, I'm really torn tonight on at least my one vote of, it concerns me, again, that the policy could then go to a point of this kind of concealed carry with multiple staff members on every campus. I'm just going to say one other thought that I've been having, and I mean this, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, and I've really been struggling on whether I wanted to share this or not, but I have personally observed just far too many instances with Flagler schools right now of my feeling that this school district is not ready yet to implement this program. There are some things that need to get in order first. So, we have a new superintendent who will be coming in the next 6 months or so. Ms. Moore will be starting here in the next couple of weeks. I think, I've used the word squishy a lot. There are a lot of things that need to be tightened up. I have personal observations. I have had people from the schools reach out to me with instances that they're uncomfortable with from a safety perspective. So I sit here concerned that the benefit today does not outweigh the risk. So just to summarize my thoughts, I am supportive of the Guardian program in something like a specific role like campus advisor, who is a Flagler Schools employee. But maybe not at this time, and certainly not a concealed carry, multiple guns on every campus. So that is where I stand on it in this moment. It's my thoughts. Thank you for letting me share.
Mr. Farr?
Yeah, actually, I have some things to add now. Excuse me. So one thing I want to just emphasize with the public here is that this program, we have invested a lot of time, a lot of research into this program. We've had very great collaboration with the Flagler Sheriff's Office, and Mr. Houlihan has done a great job of bringing this information together to get us to this vote tonight. And I will remind that the component of the school employee that would be armed, the whole point of that being concealed is that it's a deterrent. When you don't know who that third person is on the campus or fourth person that has the ability to neutralize you if you're an assailant, you're less likely to come and commit what you're going to do. And I think that's a very important component of this, and this is one of the reasons why we chose this version of the Guardian program, because there actually are 3 different versions that we considered. One was actually to have security that was actually marked or has a uniform of sorts, or it would be another deputy or private security, right? And we already have SRDs on all of our campuses, right? And our campuses are very large, and that SRD can only be in one place at one time, and in some cases we have 2, but it takes time to respond to a situation like this, and every second counts. And response times could be as high as 5 minutes, maybe better than that, but that's a long time when you have an active assailant on a campus. And I can't think of a reason why we wouldn't want to have extra support for our SRDs in God forbid, a moment like that, because lives could be spared when seconds count. So this was not a flippant decision, as it had been brought up. This has been actually discussed from long before I came on the board, and we are just continuing the conversation, and we took our time with this to make sure that we get the framework initially right. And so, and after meeting with the Suwannee County and how great they have implemented this program over many years now and have had success with it and not had one incident on their campus, mind you. That was very encouraging. And they also encouraged us that they felt that this would be a good program for Flagler County as well. So I'll leave my comments there.
And again, people, all the people that will apply, they will be highly vetted. So, I mean, there is a chance that people apply and they may not make it, you know, they may not finish the process and be approved. It will be taken very seriously. And I'll just say, you know, I know there's lots of concerns, but even as a parent, would I feel safer knowing that there's a guardian at my children's school? Absolutely, I would.
Dr. Conklin.
So this is a topic that's been weighing heavy on my mind since we've been discussing it. And I'm not going to vote in favor of it this evening, and I want to share the reasons why. There's a couple, Ms. Hunt alluded to some of them, but adopting a resolution without any of the real details ironed out without having any policies in place makes me feel very uncomfortable. But I have several reasons for my my no vote on this at this time, and I'm grateful that it's coming to a vote and we can all take a vote on it, and then move forward with whatever the consensus of the board is. But one, I worry about the lack of proper training, and I know I trust our Sheriff's Department and our Sheriff's Daly and the team with training folks. But people who decide to be police officers are cut from a different cloth. My brother is a police officer. Teachers and staff folks have made a decision to go into a career field just as law enforcement officers have made a decision to go into that career field. And I worry about you could provide all the training in the world that you want, but to have that same level of training and experience as police officers do, and being able to handle high-pressured situations effectively concern me greatly. I'm concerned about a risk of increased accidents, having more guns in schools, increasing the risks of, you know, students just having access. I think of what happened at Matanzas High School and whether or not that staff person was or could have been, not was, but whether or not that staff person could be a guardian in the future, and being attacked by a student and losing control of a gun, does it make a bad situation worse? So even with the best training in the world, accidents can happen, and the consequences with that can be deadly. And students may gain access to those guns either intentionally or accidentally. And again, unauthorized users, including students, stealing or obtaining firearms in any way, creating additional safety hazards and issues just are of great concern. In addition to that, I worry about the cooperation with law enforcement and whether or not that could be hampered if there is an issue on campus. If teachers and staff members are armed, could it create confusion during a shooting incident, making it difficult? And I know we're talking about ways to mitigate against that, but in a moment when a tragedy is unfolding and everybody is stressed, knowing who the plainclothed, undercovered individual is with who's on our side, and it concerns me about any kind of confusion or putting an officer in a difficult situation on deciding on what to do in that situation, and leading to possibly more casualties. And then finally, for a no vote on this is I've heard from a number of teachers and staff members, and not one of them said that this is something that they would welcome in their schools. And I worry about the negative impact on the learning environment, arming teachers and staff, whether or not that could create a negative learning environment. Do students feel less safe and more anxious if they know their teachers or staff, and they wouldn't know who it is? Somebody is carrying guns. Does it create a culture of fear, mistrust? Would it harm relationships between students, teachers, staff? And those are questions I just don't know the answers to. I tried to do some research to see if there was any evidence about utilizing armed teachers or staff members. I've just not been able to find any evidence to suggest that school shootings have been deterred by armed teachers or staff members. In fact, there's been incidences where armed teachers and staff members have accidentally discharged weapons or used them inappropriately, putting students and other staff members at risk. The large teacher organizations are not in favor of it, don't support arming teachers or staff as a good solution. Instead, many of those organizations are advocating for comprehensive approaches that address some of the root causes of violence, prioritizing the safety and well-being of all of our students. I appreciate the presentation that we had from Suwannee County and the time that the Sheriff's Department and everyone else has put into this. And I've struggled with this all along, prior to our new board members being seated. And I hope we can just respectfully appreciate each other's position. I respect what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I'm just uncomfortable and uneasy with it at this point in time. I do think looking at early intervention, mental health support, and really looking at some of the mental health issues and behavioral problems that are going on in our schools as we continue to look at those programs would help. Also, looking at additional safety measures. I know we haven't really spent much time talking about it, and I don't love the idea either, but I think I love the idea of metal detectors better than I do multiple people walking around campuses with guns. But I also hiring additional school resource officers. You guys are the professionals. This is what you do. Yeah, it may be expensive, but maybe even looking at the Guardian program to support a private security. So they're known. So, Will, I understand what you're saying about having that established presence, right? That we have unmarked, I'm saying the wrong thing, plainclothed, thank you, folks with guns, right? But we've got lots of folks armed in security clothes with guns, right? So maybe that would be something that we can look at. I know this is a resolution to kind of move forward in that direction and give the Sheriff's Department some direction for the grant application process, but I am extremely just unsettled and uncomfortable with it at this time. I'd like to learn more about utilizing the K-9 program that's new and is coming out. I'd be open to exploring any other possibilities. I do like the idea of the force multiplier, but would feel more comfortable if we were looking at hiring professionals in those areas. So respectfully, Board, I will, whatever the consensus is, but I did want to share my concerns.
I'd like to add. So one thing I do want to say is that, we have had the support of the sheriff on this matter, and I can personally attest to that because I met with him personally during my campaign for school board, and he said the only way he would support it, though, is if it was to complement our SRDs in the schools, right? So with the reassurance of the sheriff, he has invested with his team hours and hours and hours to help get us here. I would say that if he has faith in it, it's something that we should, give that some weight. And I'll remind everyone that these guardians are going to receive 144 hours of training if they pass the psychological and background test. There's security all around you. We bring I bring my kids to places all the time that have armed security, right? And I don't really think that even those folks, maybe, I don't know for sure, but 144 hours of training by the sheriff's office is probably the best you can get in a local municipality. And so these are going to be highly trained. And I understand that some people brought up the concerns of the mental stress. Well, that is what the psychological evaluations are for. That's what the background checks are for, right? That's what the training is for. If one goes all the way through all of this, that means they're committed. And I've also spoken to some of our employees, and they've told me that they would give their life for our children at school, at Flagler schools. So I know not everybody's going to agree with this program at the end of the day, but my vote's going to be for what I feel is the best thing to bring the safest environment for our students. And I will add one more thing, that I do believe there's a lot of support for this program in the community, and I'll say that confidently because this was on the front top of my campaign running for school board. I ran and said that the Guardian program would be a great fit for Flagler schools, and that's been out there, and I was elected by a high margin. So I think that was very recent. So I think we can give some weight to that as well. And I know some other candidates have also supported that during their campaigns. So I'll leave that there.
I'll just say another couple things, please. As Dr. Conklin mentioned, this is a really tough decision because I think there's so many benefits to the Guardian program. And I will tell you, I always mess up the name, but Jeff, who's been the campus advisor at Wadsworth, when I met him, again, former law enforcement, great guy. Like, as a mom to an 11-year-old, I thought I want this guy to have a gun as he's out the perimeter of the fence. On campus. He's got the right background. He had the right temperament. I felt very comfortable with him. I don't think, if you look at kind of everything is kind of perfect end of this, it's all upside. It's all fantastic. I don't think that's where the fear comes in. The fear comes in, well, what if it's not Jeff? What if it's this other person? And we live in this really challenging time now where somebody sees, the family Christmas picture of everybody, holding a rifle, and they think that's awesome. And there are some families that find that terrifying. And I just think, to Dr. Conklin's point, we have really, as a board, this board, not talking about previous boards, this board, we have spent very little time really discussing the implementation of this, real world implementation. And so I think if you look at all of the positives, yeah, there's a lot of positives. But I think when you look at real world, there's just a lot of things that would need to be ironed out. I would hope, depending on where this vote goes, and it may pass tonight. If it doesn't pass tonight, I would hope we're working toward implementing this at some point, tightening things up, having an environment where this makes sense. I'll say one last thing, and it kind of goes with what I've already been saying. There's so much that we could be doing right now to enhance safety on our campuses. And I will give one example. FPC has a guard shack. When I go by that guard shack, I want to see the guard actively watching the whole time. When I go onto campus, I see them looking around. When I leave campus, I want to see their eyes up looking around. Do our students, and hopefully one of you guys can answer this, do our students have decals for their cars when they go on to? Okay, so again, that guard shack should be, the person there should be watching to see, do I see somebody pulling in who I have not seen before, doesn't have a decal? When I drive by, when I go onto campus and that person's looking, and I'm not saying this is every time, when they're looking down on their phone, are we today doing our best with what we have in place around safety? Are all of our teachers following the no door stops? Are our campus advisors in place today making sure that all of our exterior doors are locking properly? When that is tightened up, when I know that all Flagler Schools employees are given clear expectations and held accountable for those clear expectations, I know I would feel better about implementing a program like this. Because what I think about as a parent, as a board member, are what are the things that could go wrong? Not the things that could go right, but what are the things that could go wrong? And that is where my vote lies tonight. Thank you. I am done. Thanks.
All right. Let me explain where my head is, because my head's been all over the place, to be quite frank with everybody. When we first started talking about guardians, I was adamantly opposed. Okay, I have a concealed weapon, and my weapon is in my home, locked in a safe, and God forbid if I ever need it, I don't think I'd even get it out, quite frankly. I'm not big on guns, but it's okay. That's me. I appreciate all of my colleagues' comments, and actually I agree with them in many cases, okay? I've had to sit here and I needed to be educated, and that's what I took time listening to everybody. Because, I mean, whether you're for it or you're against it, you have reasons, and that's what I'm listening to. When we had Swanee here, it was somewhat enlightening to me, because it wasn't what I was thinking it was going to be. In my mind, we were only going to find ex-military, people that have awareness with guns, and this, that, and everything else, and they were going to be our guardians. That is not the case in this model. It's not the case. So it somewhat opened my eyes. They have a number of guardians, a large number. And I asked them, well, what's the makeup of that? And out of all of them they have, 60% of them are women. That surprised me. It surprised me a lot. I never even thought of that. I thought it would be absolutely the reverse. And their presentation made sense. But one thing I did get out of that is they took a lot of time to get buy-in from everybody, because that's the only way this kind of program actually does work. I agree with Ms. Hunt at some point that we aren't necessarily there yet. We're not there yet. I really don't think we're there yet. You're right, we're getting a new superintendent. But I still wasn't convinced which way I should lean, and I listened to a lot of constituents. I have. And I've had the emails and I've talked to people. But then finally, the other thing that Swanee told us is one of the main factors in their model are school principals. So what did I do? I went to school principals and I talked to school principals, since they're the most important, one of the most important people in this entire process. And conversations that I had were enlightening to me. Not that I found them unusual, but enlightening. One of the principals in their building has an incredible marksman, won all kinds of awards for their marksmanship, and they can shoot. But then in the next breath, I was told they would never let them be guardians. I said, huh? You know, we need people that are familiar with firearms. And they proceeded to tell me, I've seen them in stressful situations and they are useless. Bingo. Bingo. I like, wow. I mean, that went completely against what I had been thinking. Another one of the principals I talked to spoke about a time when they were in they were not necessarily a principal, but a fight broke out in the cafeteria. This was years ago. Fight broke out in the cafeteria, and they went in to break up that fight. And at that time, the SRD also went in to break up that fight. And they broke the fight up. But afterwards, the principal, the person that was involved in this, wasn't principal at the time, went to the SRD and said, you know, I really appreciate you coming in and helping me, but don't ever do it again. Don't ever do it again. Because you are the only person on campus that has a weapon. You're the only person. And if that weapon got freed during that struggle, who knows what would have happened? Who knows? So that added more thought to my process here. So taking it directly to the people who would be most pivotal leads me to believe we're not ready yet. Are we opposed to the process? Not completely. I don't think any one of us here, we've all done our work. We've been working at this, you know, and we have more to do to get to where we need to be. There's no doubt about that. And yes, it would be wonderful to have a force multiplier. But is Flagler County ready to take that step? I don't think so. Not this year. Maybe in a couple years, or maybe there's something else we can do. I mean, yes, there have been close to 300 mass shootings since January in this country. We have a problem in this country. It's a huge problem. And a mass shooting's anything over, I think it's, what, 5 people? 3 to 5 people, right? In Flagler County here, we have put in place a lot of things to protect our children. Our hardening of our entryways is incredibly good. Incredibly good. And that's a good step. There are other ways. I mean, I really wish we'd be putting more money into our mental health, because that's where our problem also lies. It's in the mental health field, for sure. But there are other ways, and we've got to start thinking, I guess we need to think more outside the box. Maybe like we talked about, the armed, hiring more SRDs, if that's the case. I know the sheriff would like that. It is expensive, but, you know, who cares at this point? We want to protect our families and our kids and our buildings. And you know, you just never know what's going to happen. I'm glad we have our SRDs. We may need to expand that program on a slower basis. We may need to find alternatives. But I'm just not convinced at this time, after speaking to people that they're there every day dealing with these kids, and they are the ones that would give up their lives to protect these children. They're not ready. And if they're not ready, we have to consider that more than anything, because they're the ones that are going to be there. So that is my statement at this point. I'm going to have to call the question.
I'd just like to add one more thing, Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. President.
And I just want to make sure everybody's clear on what this resolution is about. This is about a path forward to this program. It doesn't start tomorrow if we vote this in. As you said, Chair, that this may be something in the future, but we're talking about an implementation date of this program for the 24-25 year. So there's going to be plenty of time to build this program and to have this discussion, because we're going to build the policy around this, but it has to start some point. And everyone here on this board is going to be able to be part of that, to have a say in what this is going to look like in the future. And I would say that just based on things that the time we've invested already, and the time that we've come to great decisions just in the short time we've been aboard, I think that's plenty of time for us to get this program right, so that in 24, it's ready to go. But this allows us to get the grant in place and allow the sheriff to get the grant so that we can start working toward that. If we don't vote this in now, then this likely has pushed this to almost to 25, 26. So, I mean, that's a really far, if we believe that the future is when this program is going to be it, now is the time to start it so you can be part of that future. We can all be part of that future and see what it's up. But let's not, with all the work we did, let's not table this for another year. Let's be part of this to make this the program we want it to be. So I just wanted to bring that up based on your comments here. So if you'd like to, if you're ready to call the vote, we can do that.
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me there is the fact I'm not sure we could get this accomplished in a year. Maybe 2, but not a year. I mean, there's a lot to do to get people to understand the process and accept it, especially our building people. And I don't think there would be a mass exodus if we went ahead and approved a Guardian program right now. I just don't think, considering the status of our entire administrative team from the top down, that we're going to be ready. We have a new superintendent coming in. We need to keep that in consideration. They may be ultimately opposed to it and just have to buy into it because we accepted it. And I think that's a problem too. So I understand what you're saying, and I have thought about that. I feel I don't think we're ready to do that at this point. That's my personal opinion at this point.
And I want you to know I had that same exact thought because, there's a lot of lead time here. Again, I don't know where the vote is going to go. We'll know here soon. But if we do not vote to move forward on this tonight, as we meet with Ms. Moore for our, I'm not good with dollar words right now. We are meeting together for a retreat. Thank you. I'm having a tough time with easy words right now. When we meet for our retreat, as we discuss what we want to see in our next superintendent, I mean, I don't consider any of the work that's been done to be wasted time. I think this is something that I would certainly be in favor of us working toward, and as we have a retreat, or as we discuss superintendent, or that, can we be, and Chair Massaro, maybe that is partially your role, is what is that kind of cadence of how do we stay on top of this to get us ready to be there if that's the board's pleasure. Thank you.
Are we ready? All right, then we're going to call the vote. We'll do individual votes this way so we know what everybody's voting. It may keep it clearer. Ms. Chong?
Voting for.
Yes, for the Guard. That's the motion is to maintain a Guardian program.
I vote yes.
Adopt the resolution to proceed to adopt. Yes. Thank you.
Aye, yes.
Okay.
I'm voting no this evening.
Nay. I just don't think we're ready yet.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy.
Yep, thank you, Tommy, and please extend our thanks to the sheriff. We know this has been a long process for all of you, too.
Thank you.
And we appreciate that, because we appreciate you. All right, we're going back down now to Operational Services 17.02, request board approval for award and accompanying contracts for invitation to bid on charter bus services. Ms. Calera.
Isn't on. Good evening, Board Chair, Board members, and Superintendent Middlestat. We're seeking approval for charter bus services to provide various transportation at times of need for athletic teams, field trips, other extracurricular activities. Looking to award to 5 companies who submitted responsive and responsible bids for the next 2 years with a potential 2-year renewal.
All right, I need a motion.
Yeah, please. Oh, move to approve.
Okay, Ms. Hunt, second.
Second.
Yeah, I got Ms. Conklin here. All right, so we have a motion by Ms. Hunt and a second by Dr. Conklin to approve the award. Conversation. Discussion. Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. All right. 17.03, request board approval for award accompanying contract for invitation to bid for Flagler Palm Coast High School parking lot improvements. Mr. Calera, Ms. Calera, and Mr. Bush.
This is the parking lot improvements we workshopped previously. We're recommending award of this project to Four Cs Trucking and Excavation in the amount of $2,524,482.50.
I need a motion.
Move approval.
Mr. Furry, a second.
I'll second.
Ms. Hunt. All right, we have a motion from Mr. Ferry and a second from Ms. Hunt. Conversation. Seeing none.
I'll just say I don't like the cost of it, but I know we don't have a choice.
I agree.
Yeah, okay. All right. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. All right, human resource action. There are a number of job descriptions. Oh, did I miss one?
1704.
Oh, 1704, I'm sorry, I missed Ms. Bush. How could we do that?
Move approval.
Okay, so I need a second.
Second.
Okay, so we have Conklin and Fury. All right, we have a motion by Dr. Conklin and a second by Mr. Fury to approve. Any conversation, discussion?
I'm excited to see the outcome of this. I really am. Very hopeful.
I am as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think it can benefit our student population for sure.
I'll come back and do a follow-up in a few months and
That
let
would
you
be
know how
great.
things
Good.
are going.
All right, motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, now we're on to human services. Human resource. 18, we had a number of job descriptions, 1801 to 1806. We've already discussed them, and I think we could go ahead and approve them as a group with a motion. Dr. Conklin
Second.
and Ms. Chung. All right, we have a motion by Dr. Conklin and a second by Ms. Chung. Any questions, discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. All right, school board attorney action. 2001, request approval for renewal of the 2023-2024 NEFAC agreement. Ms. Gavin.
Board, you have before you a reduced from what we originally believed to be the cost for the renewal of the contract with NEFAC for all of the services that we receive, which includes our assistance with academic services, our technology, our training, as well as all of our insurance coverage for both property as well as workers' compensation, all of our coverages that we have with them. So before you is that agreement for the 23-24 year.
I need a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Ms. Hunt, and I need a second.
Second.
Ms. Chung. All right, the floor is open for conversation. This is probably one of the largest approvals that we make annually, but it also comes with great support from our coalition that we're involved with for liability. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. On to old business. Do we have old business?
Yes, I have some old business.
Mr. Furry.
Okay, so this is just a follow-up on the Flagler Youth Orchestra. We spoke about this in our workshop. It was discussed, or I brought up there that I think it would be prudent for us to have an outside counsel review the structure of the youth orchestra and how it's set up with Flagler schools to see if we can continue to operate in that fashion. So I just want to make a motion to that we would hire an outside counsel to give us a legal opinion on if this structure can continue as it is now, and if not, to give us guidance on how it could go forward.
Okay, we have a motion. We would need a second.
I can second.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Ferry and a second from Ms. Chong to hire outside counsel to research the development.
Review
or
the structure. Because we
of
have
FYO.
a financial audit happening right now, but what's in question is the structure of how that it is in compliance with corporate and tax law, that we can operate this way.
Okay.
And so I just like an outside legal opinion on that, so we can make a clear decision once we get the audit findings in too.
All right, so we have we had a second by Ms. Chong. Any conversation, discussion? Dr. Conklin.
I will say that the structure that's in place is, we have the same structure in place with other entities. It is the simple fact that the reporting was not done the way it needed to be done. So moving forward, it is going to be done based on what the recommendation from the audit finds, but also on how we simply do this with any other school district-sponsored program. School districts are legally allowed to have sponsored programs. So paying for additional attorney, I don't see the point in it.
But I was told this is a very unique program, and we don't operate in any program like the Flagler Youth Orchestra has. So that's why we need clarification on this. Again, we have all these unique questions, again, with the memorandum of understanding. How can we operate in a memorandum of understanding with an entity that does not exist? So I mean, there's a lot of things here in its structure that just does not.
Well,
it just doesn't. It's
okay.
like I said, it's a messy setup.
We will agree to disagree.
Okay.
It was set up by the superintendent. The finance department was involved in setting up the bank account. There was a staff change. The internal audit and the internal recording and observing and oversight of this was not carried on. I think we're waiting to see exactly what happens from the audit. All of the records and all the bookkeeping are all there. We are the ones who dropped the ball on this. This is a school district sponsored program.
Yeah, but what they're auditing is the finance. They're looking at it from a bookkeeping perspective. I'm talking about the fact that we have independent contractors that are advertising themselves as a separate entity. We have a memorandum of understanding with an entity that does not exist, is not formally registered in any way, shape, or form. I just need to know, because if we're going to keep this going the way that it is, I need to know that it's in a legal structure. Because it originally was thought that this was a booster account. It was not a booster account.
No.
I don't want to have to go, I really don't want to go through all that tonight unless we need to, because we've already talked this in detail in our workshops. But I feel that from my perspective, that if we're going to vote on this to continue this on in the same fashion, I need a legal opinion that says that this is not in violation of any type of tax code or anything, because we're paying people as independent contractors, but then at the same time they were operating out of a bank account that was our IEN number, and they're not even employees of the school. This function.
Well, first of all, a couple of things. I think it's really super important that when you talk about we were paying them, we directly paid those contractors. We did not send the Friends of the Youth Orchestra a check to deposit into their account. We directly paid instructors. That account was used basically as a fundraiser, very much like a booster account. But that account was set up by the district. We never, as a district, stroked a check and had it deposited, or they had it deposited into that account.
Well, it wouldn't have mattered. It's our account anyways from that perspective.
Correct.
But the problem is there's separation of duties when you have independent contractors. And when you have a 1099,
yeah,
you hire an independent contractor. They are either a sole proprietor or they are an entity. Okay, but we have a person that is advertising themselves as the director of the Flagler Youth Orchestra.
But that's not true. They never advertise themselves
on her LinkedIn.
as a separate entity.
I'm just
But they
saying
don't, Will. In their programs, they say a Flagler County Schools program. They never advertise themselves as a separate entity. At every performance, it is announced that they are our program. Their program says it is a Flagler Schools program. So let's make sure that when we say things publicly, that it's true.
Well, what is true is that we have somebody, Cheryl Tristem, who signed a memorandum of understanding as the Flagler Youth Orchestra. I don't see why you don't see a problem with that, but I do.
I always thought having an MOU with ourselves was silly.
But she's identified herself as the Flagler Youth Orchestra.
She's the executive director, yes.
But she can't be, if she can't be, do you see the problem here?
No, Will, we
she's an
I-9 her
independent
directly
contractor.
to be the executive director of this program.
She's not an employee of the school. That's the problem I have. Why I want a corporate attorney to look at this, because you cannot assign somebody a position if they're an independent contractor. They are their own entity. That's just how independent contractors works.
But that's not true. That is not true. You can identify an I-9 worker to take on a role. We have them for speech therapy. We have them for other roles within the district.
Yeah, I'm just not comfortable with the way this is set up based on my findings. And for me, I would like to have a legal opinion on whether if this is in compliance. And we're going to have to come to a vote on this at some point, and I'll need that information to make my vote. So, and I think that could be helpful to everybody on the board, because as I said, if everything is in compliance with tax code, with everything else that goes along with this, then we just keep moving forward. But if it's not, we got to fix it. We can't move on. And I don't know that anybody on this board, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, is a corporate tax attorney or not. I mean, if you are, let me know. But we need to have a legal opinion on this, and I think we'll need that to go forward.
Christy,
Ms.
would a
Chong,
tax...
wait.
I'm
Ms.
sorry.
Chong has a comment.
If the end goal is to continue the orchestra, which is what everybody wants, then I think it's a good idea to just make sure we have an outside counsel just look at everything so that we know going forward, like, okay, we're good, and we can have a consensus.
Christy, would an accountant be able to tell us, are they just only looking at the financial audit, or are they looking at all at the structure of whether or not it's a violation of any tax code or any of that?
So I'm not sure what we've asked the auditors to do. These are our internal account auditors that are reviewing the process from the standpoint of our procedures for internal processes. That's what they are going to be analyzing, as I understand it. So they're looking at whether or not the way that the account was handled for the past 4 years, whether or not that account is in accordance with how we direct our other internal accounts to operate. And so that will be the confine or structure of the findings that will be made. So for example, if deposits are supposed to be made within so many days, they will be looking at whether or not those deposits were made within that time period. They will be looking at if we require there to be certain supporting documentation for any payments made. They will be looking at whether or not that supporting documentation exists when there has been expenditures. So it's going to be that kind of thing. It's going to be in accordance with both the Red Book as well as with our specific procedures that we have set forth for our internal accounts.
So who would we contract with to get an opinion on the structure?
On the corporate structure, a corporate attorney is what Mr. Furry is asking. I'm not sure as the tax is really the question here because we are a tax exempt organization. But if you're looking at whether or not the setup is within the confines of a corporate 628 type of code process.
But it's not a corporation, it's our program. I guess maybe that's where I'm lost trying to follow this argument. It's our program. It's not set up as a corporation, nor would it be. So I don't understand.
Because we haven't been managing.
We haven't been managing it. That's our
But at the meeting
fault.
that we had regarding this, it's constantly
Screwed this up.
Well, maybe. I don't know, but I'm just here.
100%.
I have what I have in front of me right now, and I'm going to have to make a vote on this to whether or not to continue in this structure. And if you could look back at the workshop, you can constantly see that they're constantly saying, we pay you, the district. Again, it was very misleading to me.
Because
in the first workshop.
You know that, right?
No, but they don't, because
they do pay us.
You're there is no they. That's my point, is that they say they pay us back. No, that money is basically this program actually. All those money, they're paying us out of our own account. I mean, so you can't. There's no they, and that's the problem. But there is a they. Because there is a memorandum of understanding, there's an entire perception out there that there is another entity, and that is how it's been projected all the way up to our CFO. And so I'm just saying, when there's this much confusion, we have to bring clarity to it and make sure that this can continue to operate in the fashion it is. As Ms. Chong said, our goal is to find the best way to keep this moving forward. But there's just too much going on with the fact that there's 18 years of unaudited checking account. And listen, the audit may come back and everything is on the up and up. That's not the point. Our duty is oversight and accountability, and we're doing that. But there's just one more step that we have to at loose end that we have to tie up, so that when we vote this forward, that we can confidently say, hey, this is it. And if it's not, then we do it right.
Okay.
And then we fix it, like you said.
Again, I just need clarification. So take, for example, the future problem solvers, right? There was just an expense during the workshop. I had asked about the payment to Indian Trails Middle School of $10,000, right? That payment was paying their internal account back for future problem solver fees that they paid.
Yeah, see, the problem is that if this was a school, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation, because then that would have been an internal account, say at Indian Trails, right? We have an account that's been just basically a ghost account to the district for 18 years, and someone has been operating independently outside of the school's oversight all that time. And we have a structure that just does not sound right. And we have somebody who's representing themselves as Flagler Youth Orchestra. Their entire image in this community is Flagler Youth Orchestra. Everybody thought this was Flagler Youth Orchestra. We have a memorandum of understanding with them, and they don't exist. So all I'm saying is that when things are messy like this, we have to clean it up. I just want clarity and transparency in this, and guidance moving forward.
What are you asking for? They're not a corporation.
That's the problem. Maybe they need to be. Because,
why would they be? They're our program.
No, they are not a program. They are independent contractors.
No, Will, the Flagler Youth Orchestra. was underwritten by Superintendent Bill Delbrug and every superintendent since then and school board. It is a Flagler County School District program. End of story. They are not a corporation. They are not a business. They are run by, and students are instructed by, I-9 contractors because we weren't going to employ all of these full-time people.
But the problem is, Dr. Conklin,
It is not a corporation.
is that I know that it's not a corporation, that we've made that clear. But they have been fundraising in the name of the Flagler Youth Orchestra for many, many years, not in the name of Flagler schools. And there's there is a perception that there are two entities out there.
They've been fundraising as the Friends of Flagler Youth Orchestra.
Well, okay, there's another non-entity. Again, this is another reason why we need clarity on this. There's a third entity that doesn't have any 501(c)(3) status, doesn't have a
Why would it be a 501(c)(3) status? It's our program, Will. It's our program.
I'm not gonna argue about this with you, Dr. Conklin, but what I am gonna say is I made a motion.
Created it. I don't
I made a
understand what the
motion,
confusion
and
is.
we can vote on it because I think it's the prudent thing to do. We just need to know the right way to move forward, and if we're doing things legitimately, legally, and in a way that's in alignment with the tax code. So.
This, for me, Will, this is like a cart and horse situation because what's going through in my head is, does it make sense for us to first discuss what do we want it to look like? So Dr. Conklin brought up the future problem solvers. I would be interested to find out what is that, with that as an example, if that's at Indian Trails Middle School, who from the district owns it, who is their leader, what is the structure, and how does that, if we're using that as an example, how does that compare to our orchestra program? So as far as cart and horse, and I don't know which is the right way to go, but does it make sense to see where the majority is on this discussion of what do we want it to look like? Then we reach out to trusted advisors as far as is this illegal? Does this make sense? Or do we need to first have those trusted advisors come in and answer preliminary questions before we decide what we want it to look like going forward?
My motion is responding to the conversations that we've already had, is that we're going to continue to move forward as it is. So I don't believe that the structure is, it doesn't look right to me, and I'm not an attorney. And so why is there an opposition to just get a legal opinion so we know that we're doing this correctly?
I must have missed that meeting because I don't remember a conversation where we voted to approve Flagler Youth Orchestra moving forward as is.
No, but the argument is that it should continue as it is, and it's not. We haven't had the vote yet. That's been removed from the agenda. But I want to have all the information when this comes to a vote that we can all confidently vote this forward. That's all this is about. I don't see why there's such strong opposition to just for clarity and transparency.
The strong opposition is because I'm trying to understand what you are having. It's not, you keep saying a corporate lawyer. It's not a corporation. So what and who do you want to look into this?
I want a corporate lawyer that is proficient in corporate and tax law to make sure that this structure with the FYO can continue in its current form.
Will,
and so
it's not a corporation is what I'm asking you.
But that is, I just can't go around in circles with you, Dr. Conklin.
All right, let me do this.
I keep saying
what
this.
if we had another attorney from another school district look at it?
Yeah, that's another thought that I had. Ms. Gavin, could you explain, or what do you recommend if we want somebody to make certain that the FYO is structured appropriately for our school system, or what has to happen? Is there someone like another school district attorney, or I don't know?
I mean, I can reach out to, what I would recommend is there are attorneys that represent school districts that are not in-house attorneys, that are outside attorneys, and David Delaney, for example, is one attorney who represents Alachua and
So why don't you get an opinion from a school district attorney? I would support
Someone
that.
other than ours,
But a
right.
corporate attorney makes no sense.
It has to be somebody
not
that
a
understands school
corporation.
structure.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yeah, okay, let's, I want to say, okay, but again, I need to speak with the attorney to make sure we just need to understand the scope of what we're looking for here, right? And whether that attorney feels, if in fact that after the scope is mentioned to what we're looking for with the attorney, that they feel that their area of law, that they can provide an opinion for us, then I would be okay with that. So
Would that be feasible? To
Yeah,
say,
I mean, I can reach
Get a
out
cost
to.
on that as well?
Yeah.
I can request a cost, I can request, there's a couple of attorneys, I can call Leonard Dietzen as well. His law firm is a large law firm throughout the state that also I could call his firm to see whether they have the availability. And the other thing that we would have to also request is the turnaround time as well, to find out whether they have the capacity to even handle it. So I can reach out to a couple of different attorneys that handle school districts statewide.
Yeah, I think that's important because school districts are so unique. You need somebody that they have these things at all different school districts, that they can analyze it and perhaps get the answers that you're looking for. And I would assume you'd be able to talk to them.
yeah, I think
see
that
any reason with
we've
that.
had an opportunity just to make sure, just like you have a consultation with any attorney to make
Yeah.
sure that's a good fit, then yeah.
And the goal is to make certain that when it's done, we're done.
That's it.
It's
That's
done
what I
right,
want. I
and
want
we're
us
ready to
just
move forward.
forward and be done
Correct.
with this. Yeah.
Correct. All right, so we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Furry and a second by Ms. Chung. Let's call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Wait. I want to make sure that, because the motion that was originally made was for a corporate tax attorney, and
we
we
need
have
that.
now shifted it to being
You're
a
right.
school district. So I
So
just
we
wanna
need
make
that
sure.
motion
The
withdrawn.
Yeah, withdraw that motion.
And you need to withdraw your second, Ms. Chung?
I'll withdraw the second.
Okay, now we need a new motion.
Okay, I have a motion that we will seek a school board outside counsel to review the Flagler Youth Orchestra structure.
Okay, we need a second.
Second.
All right, we have a first by Mr. Ferry, a second by Ms. Chung. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Hearing none, would you follow through with that, Ms. Gavin? Okay, all right, good. All right, any other old business? New business, anybody with new business?
I've got something real quick
Go ahead.
that we didn't get to during the workshop, but it's an ask when we discuss our school board meetings. And did we decide we're doing that next? In July. I'll just share a thought. I have been finding it really interesting, especially in workshops, that just things don't make sense to me from a cadence standpoint. So when Mr. Reeves presented, I don't know if it was on Capturing Kids' Hearts or whatever, but it was almost like he was there for approval, and at the same time said, we've got all of our spots filled up. And I've talked with Patty about this a little bit, and Dr. Conklin, you may be able to add some insight, but my understanding is the history of this board. There was a change at some point where for the business of the school district to move forward, it almost kind of got to a point where the board was rubber stamping things, like kind of approving after the district had already kind of done stuff. But there used to be a time when that wasn't the case. And That's just something when we discuss board meetings, I'd love to talk about. And the reason why is we have so much to get done. I'm never going to be in favor of spending time on something that ultimately doesn't matter. So another example of this was when we were talking about the Let's Talk app. And I think we talked about it for like 3 hours when we finally realized that we were not even approving anything. It was a renewal that had already been renewed. I would love to see us tighten things up a little bit, and either we are truly approving something, truly, or it's not on the agenda, it's just in a memo, but I'd love to add that to the discussion on the school board meetings.
If I could, just
Ms.
to
Goff.
share a little perspective, 100% agree with the frustration. What you'll see is that there are things that come before us that have already been approved, basically, and paid, and it's after the fact. And that's not new. That has, from the time I can remember first being on the board, especially with like vendor payments, it would be an after the fact to keep the business of the board going forward. So it depends on what the subject matter is and the timing, and whether it's like a renewal or whether it's something brand new or it's something that's already been scheduled and it's basically you're going through the motions, is basically what you're saying.
I would love to, I guess if nothing else, I would love for it to be very crystal clear, because what my observation has been since November is that's actually a lot of the content of our workshops. And so things like, look at tonight, we had these wonderful people from FSBA and we had to rush through. Alternative school, that discussion. It's delayed, it's delayed, it's delayed, and it's rushed. Also that our staff can sit and talk to us at length about something we're not even voting on. So I'm all about trusting our leadership to be making the right decisions. I know they do a lot of research. I just don't want to waste time because we don't have time to waste. So if the formality needs to exist where they present to the board in some way, can we know right away that this is
already done?
This is done? And is it a memo form? Is it consolidated in some way? That is my ask.
Yeah, and I think this is probably a great conversation for the retreat as well, because there are, like I said, there's going to be things that by law, by statute, have to come before us for approval, have to come before us to be shared, an agenda item, separated out, not just a memo that's sent, but formally on a board agenda, and we have to approve it by statute. And then there's other things that have already been scheduled out, and it's a matter of formality. So I don't know during the retreat if that's something that can be discussed more, because the frustration is real, because there are times that even if you wanted to vote against it or you wanted to have an opinion on it, it's really not going to matter. And then other times it will. So I don't know if there's on the top of the agenda item where it can state something, but I think it's worth having a deeper conversation about.
I would love to just to understand things better.
But it's not new. It's from the time I can ever remember. There's that sense of frustration. Why are we approving this? It's already done.
Well, and I just want to add to it, just so you can kind of understand another part that's kind of in my head. You advocated at a workshop, or I shouldn't maybe say advocated, you suggested that we might look at a 5-year contract for a superintendent. As a board, as far as the operations of the district, we don't get to play in that space. We really get to decide who the superintendent is, okay? So I'm imagining a situation where for 5 years, we really can do nothing as the people elected to watch things on behalf of the community, right? So we could have leadership who's, in our opinion, making not the right decisions for taxpayer money. And we really, effectively can't do much, perhaps for 5 years, right? So it's a big topic. I appreciate your support and perhaps that being a part of the retreat.
Yeah, what might be really helpful too is during our retreat, spending some time actually looking at state statute and the responsibility and roles for school board members, because then it might give a different sense. Because we're not just an audience. Does that make sense? Aside from the hiring of the superintendent and the school board attorney, we really do statutorily have a lot of responsibility in budgeting, in personnel, in oversight, in some of those things. But the management, the procedures are more on the administrative side of the house. But there are things that we can do within policy that really make a big impact or could make a big impact. So maybe that is worth an item on the agenda for the upcoming retreat.
The understanding of it better, and then what do we as a board want that to look like? Thank you.
Is there any other new business? All right, then we're up to public comment.
I'm not sure if they are still here, so the first person is Gary Owens on academic services. I'm not sure if he's still here.
No.
Okay. I'm not sure if he's still here, but Anthony Martinez on recognition of veterans.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, you come over, sir, you can come right up here, front and center.
Welcome.
There you go.
My subject is recognizing veterans. We are the Flagler County Marine Corps League, Detachment 876, and our United States Marine Corps code is God, Country, Corps, and we have served this community of ours for over 25 years. We established 2 $500 scholarships for both Flagler Palm Coast and Matanzas High School Junior ROT graduates 3 years ago because we felt they are our military future leaders. We have been invited to speak to the students in their classroom settings. We have never been invited to speak to the students in their classroom settings. Why? Many of us have seen life and death during the Marine Corps careers, but as many of you may know or not know, many of us will never talk about it to anybody that wasn't there. Blood and guts are great on TV, but not in real life when you're talking to our future military leaders. We have hosted 19 Marines now serving our great country for the last 3 years with a pizza party and going away presents. And many came with their families and their junior ROT instructors and Marine recruiters. And we would be honored to have you attend and see how we treat our Marine Corps leaders. We have adopted and served our veterans at Emory Bennett Veterans Nursing Home in Daytona for 30 years on the first Saturday of the month, and it would be great to see our students learn about the great things we do for our Marines and family, our community, and all our veterans. We have donated and collected thousands for our Flagler County Marine Toys for Tots Foundation, and this would be a great way to show the students to assist in helping our community in this need. Sadly, many pass us by at Dunkin' Donuts or Publix, and I guess it's because they're not taught what it means. Please open the doors to all our veterans and let us teach our children the proper use of our United States of American flag, how they can assist all our veteran organizations year-round. Many of us veterans are at an advanced age, and having high school students learn that we exist and how they can help us all would be a blessing. Many of us are from the President John F. Kennedy era. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Help us, teach them, only you can make it happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Claudette O'Dowd on various items.
Good evening. Thanks for being here and listening to us. I just wanted to express some of my interests in. I know you talked about the Guardian program, but I wanted to point out one of the things mentioned was there's no proof that it works. The shooter in Nashville, Tennessee, actually bypassed another school because the security there was a lot more heightened than the school that they ended up shooting up. So there's the proof right there that it does work because they knew the security there was a lot stronger. Now, I don't know what the details on their security is on that school, but a lot of times with security like the Guardian program, they're not going to tell you every detail because they don't want to give away those secrets to a person who's crazy. So that's why. And law-abiding citizens that carry guns aren't shooting schools up. So the people that they would interview would have the training, have the background checking, all of that would be done with a fine-tooth comb. It just doesn't make sense. Like a sane person is just not going to kill people. Crazy people kill other people. So that the only way to stop them is to protect the children with another weapon. We don't have, again, magical powers to make them disappear, so we have to have trained people to do that. Also, I wanted to touch on, I know you mentioned at the workshop about some smaller class sizes and maybe some satellite schools. I think that's a great idea. It's something that we could definitely talk about. My kids are now in a private school with no more than 12 children in their class, and they are all now on honor roll, and my son got the Charger Award, which means he exemplifies the school's mission. And he came from public school, as my daughter did, and they struggled, and it was a nightmare. You know, my son was isolated. Kids told him he was stupid, and he's actually very, very intelligent. So that proof right there shows me that makes a huge difference. And I also wanted to talk about, I think that was it. Oh yeah, and the veterans. Of course, the veterans. The veterans have a special place in my heart because I have veterans in my family. And I will tell you that my kids would love to hear from the veterans, especially my son loves America. We need to get them in the school because it shows our children that they could be somebody special and really put our country first. And that's something that's valuable, that makes children feel they're something. And that's what's lacking a lot today. They feel like they don't really have much of a purpose. So I think that would be great for them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chanel Channing, Guardian Program.
Good evening. I didn't expect to speak on the Guardian program, but historically, I just wanted to mention, this is now the second board that has reviewed this. The first one did pass it, and it was tabled with the idea of setting it forward to the next board, and just for the idea of, well, let's figure out how to fund it. So now this is going to be going forward perhaps 2 years. And so I just want to say, I appreciate the two of you saying, well, yeah, I would go with it, you know, if things were kind of settled in terms of security. And I would just recommend that you really look at those issues and get it clarified for the entire board and make it a priority to get those issues taken care of and to try to get this issue resolved in this board. Because a lot of resources in terms of our sheriff have already been used. The grant issue is important. Getting this done with this board is important. And keeping our teachers are really important. You know, we plotted those teachers that are retiring, but you have to ask how many are leaving because they're afraid. I know I play tennis with this group that this lady's always coming up to me and saying, we're losing teachers, and she's always telling me the numbers, and they're always going up higher and higher. And you got to tell them, you know, because she knows I go to these school boards, how many teachers we're losing, and they're afraid, they're afraid. And so that's important, that these teachers feel secure. And so that you already mentioned some of the security issues. So making it a priority to get these security issues taken seriously, get them addressed, and then, yeah, get the Guardian. We're trusting you that you say you want the Guardian program once you got the foundation set. So I just recommend it amongst you, get it done, and aim to get it done next year, not 2 years from now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody next? Is that it?
Megan Convery, Superintendent.
Nerve-wracking up here. Good evening. My name is Megan Convery, and I've been a Flagler Beach resident since 1985. I'm a proud product of Flagler Schools. My husband, siblings, and best friends are all products of Flagler Schools. God willing, my daughter will be a product of Flagler Schools class of 2035. For the last 3 years, I've also been an employee of Flagler Schools, having had the privilege to serve as the secretary to Superintendent Middlestat. I'd like to take this moment to publicly thank her for all that I have learned from her and all that she has done for my daughter and the countless other students that have benefited from her leading our district. A couple of us in the district started a joke that my job was to soften the soup. But it didn't take me long to realize that I didn't need to soften the soup. Sure, she is serious, but she's serious about things that matter, things that we should all take seriously. She's serious about academics. I mentioned this one first because it's always at the forefront of her mind. She understands the important role of educators in the lives of students, and she pushes her employees, both instructional and non-instructional, to always go the extra mile and do whatever it takes to help students achieve success. And she loves celebrating those successes. She's serious about integrity. She has led the district through some very trying times, but has done so with honesty and a close grip on her high standards and morals and transparency. She's serious about hard work. She sets a high bar when it comes to work ethic and expects others to also live up to that. She's serious about structure and process. She realizes that in an organization of this size, there must be structure and processes in place in order to run efficiently. And she's serious about professionalism. I've never once seen her make a decision out of anger or spite. She thoroughly thinks through every decision, large or small, to ensure what she is doing is correct for the district and the students and not herself. So while I mention all these things that she's serious about, there really isn't a need to soften the soup because she is already soft where she needs to be, and that is in her love for children and her desire to see them succeed. She has dedicated 30 years of her life in doing so, and she has never lost that soft spot for students and constantly encouraged others to refocus on this when distractions arose. She always reminded me that even with all the background noise, the reason she always persevered and worked so hard was the kids. On a personal note, I have had quite a variety of bosses in my life. I've worked for small businesses, large corporations, state agencies, and I own a local business with my husband. Kathy, I can say without a doubt that you are the best boss that I have ever worked for. You always take the time to explain things, you value and respect the opinions and voices of others, and you make people feel important no matter what their position or title is. I just want to personally thank you for all that you've done for me and for the students of Flagler Schools.
And our last speaker tonight is former board member Trevor Tucker.
Fitting. Yep. Last but not least. That's a hard one to follow.
Extremely. Thank you all for having me this evening. I just came up here to say thank you for your service. My daughter is going to college. She had a great high school experience. My son is going into high school now. You've served the district well. I appreciate everything you've done for us and for my family. And so with that, thank you very much. And please enjoy whatever you're going to do next.
Board Chair, we do have one more public comment. It is Richard Fay, and it's on Guardian one more time.
I truly can't appreciate the weight of the decision you had to make tonight as individuals and as, having a collective responsibility to the community as well as to constituencies. But I do appreciate it. I do want to say that we want to be cognizant of the fact that some individuals may be drawn to entering into this role. They're teachers, and you kind of have to wonder about that. And I do believe that psychopaths walk among us successfully, and that we need to be cognizant of that sometimes these positions draw people who aren't healthy to do it, but they will present as such. So in the process of figuring out how you're going to do this Guardian program, I suggest that you look at the work of Antonio Damasio about information processing and how we do that in our brain, in that you identify a tool. Patricia Crittenden does a thing called the modified attachment interview, which can help identify psychopathy, but also identify how the individual will relate to others, but also the way they process information, if they truly, fully process it, or if they're quick to react, or if they're slow to react. So I really think you want to make sure that the people that you get involved in this program, who are going to be carrying concealed guns, that you really know what their mental state is like, at a baseline, and what can you predict about their mental state under stress. Unfortunately, many of these horrible incidents happen at school, happen with weapons of war. And so if it's going to be concealed carry that the person on campus has, I don't know how effective it's going to be against a weapon of war. It'd be better for our community to identify an armory. I'm from Boston, and everywhere, every city and town had an armory. And we used to keep our weapons in the armory, and when the militia needed to be called up, you would go, you would get, and you would defend your property. So we don't have that here for whatever reason. Historically, it just isn't the way that it is. But I think we better serve by having these weapons of war in our community put in a space where they can be maintained properly, and then when needed, if we're under attack, to be called out. Also, that folks have awareness of explicit bias and implicit bias in their decision-making process, so they're fully aware of why they're making the decision and what's at the root of their thought process. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it? Okay, closing comments. Ms. Chong.
All right, I will just say thank you also to our superintendent. I know you came in at a very difficult time, and we do appreciate your hard work. I know it was not easy, so I hope you know that I appreciate you, and I wish you the very best in whatever the future holds. So thank you so much. And as for the Guardian program, I respect everyone's decision and our conversation tonight. I know eventually we will have a Guardian program. That day will come. I'm here for the long haul, so I foresee that someday it will happen. I hope and pray we never have a Uvalde or a Parkland situation where our sheriffs stand down. I don't believe that of our Flagler County sheriffs, but even so, when the clock is ticking, If that were to happen, I'd be running in the school as a mother to go get my children. I know that did happen at Uvalde. Also, thank you to the sheriffs and officers that took so much time presenting, and thank you to Suwannee County Superintendent and Assistant Superintendent also for the time that they took to present for us. Thanks.
Yes, Superintendent Middlestat, I just want to also thank you for your investment in this community and the kids of Flagler School. And I know you've got even greater things ahead of you, I'm sure, and I wish you all the best in that journey. I also want to acknowledge the veterans that came here tonight. You know, I'm sorry that you don't feel included, and I think that's something that we should definitely take to heart. And I would ask Ms. Moore if we could start looking for opportunities where we could involve our former our veterans and our even maybe active duty military. You know, I think it's important that we continue to instill a love of country, and these people have put themselves on the line for this country, and I think they have some great things to share with our students. So again, thank you for coming up and speaking tonight about that. You weren't the only one, so you've definitely struck a chord. And I also want to just wish all of our employees that retired today officially, and I just wish them all the best in their retirement, and I hope they can check many things off their bucket list. And I just do need to address the Guardian program. And again, I do respect the decision of the board. We did work hard in this to get to this point, but this is what it takes to get things done. And there's a reason why we have a body of 5 board members up here, because we each all have individual votes, right? We make our case, we bring it forward, what constituents that we speak with want, and that's what we're here to do. And it's for us to iron this out and then ultimately vote in the way that we think is best. But I am encouraged by the conversation after the vote also that the timing may not be right. I may disagree with that, but at the same time, there still seems to be some consensus here that at some point we're going to get this done, and I'm grateful for you sharing that, and I will bid you good night.
I really could just say ditto, but that's not in my nature. I'd like to echo Superintendent Middlestat. Thank you for your contribution to Flagler Schools. I truly do wish you and yours the best in the future. I also thank you to all of our many long-term associates, excuse me, I'm still very Walmart, employees who are recognized tonight, and those retiring. And then I'll also just really quickly touch on the veterans. First of all, thank you all who presented. Thank you for your service to the country. I think that there is a big opportunity for us to, it was mentioned the pandemic maybe, I think there is a really big opportunity for us to expand community partnerships in Flagler County. We're a really relatively small town. And I actually, you talked about what you ran on. I ran on the fact that I see a lot of silos in this community where there shouldn't be any. I really feel like whether it's our veterans groups, whether it's our land developers, our mayor offices, I think that when we look to see who our next superintendent is, that's really important to me, as someone who can facilitate those really great community partnerships. I feel the need just to say one thing, though. I love the idea of having our veterans involved. I just would encourage you, our young people, especially today, want to be talked with and not talked at. And I think you guys could have some really beautiful conversations for them to hear your experience, your thoughts on things, but to hear from them also. This is a different America today than it was maybe when you were their age. And I think someone mentioned, oh, they, maybe they didn't put their hand over their heart. That's actually the country we live in. They don't have to put their hand over their heart if they don't want to. Maybe they are not proud of their country right now. I wouldn't want us as Flagler schools to feel like we're instructing students that there's a certain way that they need to behave as an American citizen. I would love us to foster some really cool and interesting and healthy conversations between our students and veterans, whether it's in school or in separate programs. So I don't know if any of that made sense, but awesome. Anyway, again, thank you. Thanks to everybody for staying late tonight, and I hope everybody has a great remainder of their week.
Dr. Conklin.
Kathy, I wrote some of my comments out because I didn't want to shoot from the hip when I was sharing. But I view you as one of the finest distinguished educational professionals that I have worked with in the 23 years that I've been here in Flagler County. You have made significant contributions to our district and to our students, and I am very appreciative of that. With over 30 years of experience in education, I know you've committed yourself to advancing educational opportunities for all students. You've been instrumental in improving our district's academic and student achievement and performance in a variety of areas. Our ESE program is better than you found it, and I thank you for that. Teacher instruction, resource management, and working with our community partners and building trust with some of them. That is work that will continue on. But I know that you have worked tirelessly to develop and implement innovative education policies to close the gaps in some of the structures that we've had and some of the gaps in policies and implementation of those policies that we've had. I'm grateful for the increase in graduation rates during your tenure. I think that's something to be extremely proud of, for continuing to keep the focus on elevating excellence and raising higher academic standards as those standards continuously every year seem to change, along with the assessments that rate those standards. Your vision, I've watched over these last 3 years, has been about creating a nurturing and inclusive environment where students thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. You have stood up for all students. Your commitment to them has been unwavering, and that commitment to achieving equity and access for all students, irrespective of their backgrounds, and I appreciate that greatly. Under your leadership, we are moving in the right direction. I'm so curious to see what our school grade as a district is going to be. I thank you for weathering a number of difficult storms and keeping everyone's focus on exactly where it needed to be, and that was the classroom, on student achievement, and what was happening. I especially appreciate you shepherding, capturing kids' hearts into the district. Megan, you nailed it. She's really mushy inside. She's got a great game face. But Kathy, I've really appreciated working with you. I know it hasn't always been easy. Let me take that back. I know I haven't always been easy to work with. But I've learned a tremendous amount from you that I will take with me into the future. I wish you the best, and I thank you again. And I hope you thoroughly enjoy your time and your Yeti cooler and some time on your boat. So just thank you for your leadership and everything else. I do want to personally apologize to our veterans this evening, and it makes me wonder, Sabrina Crosby, when I was listening to the veterans share that there's been a shift and a change, and that things are not the same as they were, it brought me right back to, oh my gosh, Sabrina Crosby. I wonder if Sabrina was involved in the veterans program prior to her leaving, because Sabrina was the individual who kind of brought all our community groups together and kind of liaisoned for any projects that were going on. But boy, she was just on it, and she had a finger in everything that was going on. And so many of our community groups, I've heard from them that just feel the loss of her still to today. And she's not gone or anything, she just retired, but we sunsetted that position, and maybe that's something in the future we want to look at. So I apologize, because our veterans do bring a tremendous voice to our students in the classroom, and that's an experience that only you can share. So I apologize for that. I'll share a happy retirement. I know I'm running out of time. I hate this timer. This might be the first time I've run out of time, so. A happy retirement to our retirees. So much institutional knowledge walking out the door. I mean, just absolute, I said it, legends, truly educational legends walking out the door. Yeah. And Megan, I know you are not retiring, but you are leaving. And so thank you for working with our school board for the last few years, and being the liaison for us and handling many of the travel and anything else that we've got going on, and answering the calls for us that come through, and transferring those messages to us and whatnot. So, and scheduling appointments. So thank you for that. And Dana, my understanding is that you actually are leaving as well at the end of the month. And I just wanted to express my appreciation for you. It's been an absolute joy and pleasure to see you once again. I had Dana's children, but you are just a pleasure and an absolute joy, and I will miss working with you very much so. And for the Guardian program, thank you for everyone having a different opinion, sharing their opinion, and just accepting those opinions, and look forward to the conversation continuing. And that's it, Madam Chair.
Give you my time.
No, it's all right.
Okay, just quickly, as far as the Guardian program goes, it's not a done deal. It is right now, but I do believe we'll continue, and we'll get there. We're going to get there. I just am concerned about so many different things that are going on in our district right now that I just don't feel comfortable. I don't. And I know it disappoints a couple of you, but we'll work this out. We will work this out together. The veterans, there's been so many changes, and I agree with you about Sabrina. She was on top of that. And we have very young administrators at both of our high schools, which might have let some of that slip. ROTC is going on great. I'm involved a lot with Matanzas ROTC, and they have some special events that we've invited a lot of the veterans to do come, and we do get to meet them there, but that's one event. So we have to definitely support more of that. We need that. We really do. Our kids need that. So I'm certain that our interim superintendent's already on it. So we're going to get this worked out. As far as book reviews go, there's so much new legislation that was passed, and the state school board's coming out with new regulations. Once they are out, we will be able to move forward. We can't do anything until we see where we are and what the new regulations are. And then we will go from there. So everybody knows that. I want to compliment the Education Foundation. They had their annual dinner on Thursday, June 8th at the Hammock. And by the time we left, they had raised $80,000. And that's money that goes back into our kids. So keep supporting the Ed Foundation when you have opportunity to do so. Belterre Swim and Racquet Club is having an open house this Saturday and Sunday. It's free. Go check it out. We're certainly working to improve their participation and get that program back on track, working with a lot of our senior citizens and groups to keep that going forward. And we've had a lot of support from our staff, and they're doing a great job getting the word out. And then finally, besides supporting everything that has been said about Kathy Middlestat, when I started here 2 years ago, I said, I expected her to be here because I said, he got me for 4 years. Use me, I will do what I can to support this district. I never thought that she'd be leaving ahead of me, but that's the case. And so we'll move forward. This district's not going to stop. We'll move forward, but we're losing one of the finest professionals that I've ever worked with in my career. Regardless of being, I don't think I've ever, I saw you angry once, I think once, and I meet with her on a regular basis, and there's a lot of things that happen in this district, a lot of crazy things. But she always maintained her professionalism. And I don't know if I could do, I know I couldn't do what she has done over these past few months, basically. And I applaud her for where she took this district. We were struggling in a lot of areas, especially operational. She hit COVID right away, got us through that, but managed to change a lot of positive things in this district, administrative-wise, structure-wise. So we have a system that's now ready for somebody to step in and take it to the next level. And I know we're going to miss her, but we are also going to compliment her for those achievements because we know it's because of the foundation that she has laid down for Flagler County Schools. So I will certainly miss you. I wish you well in all that you do, and I know everything you've done for us, and you have definitely made Flagler Schools strong. So thank you. With that, I will wish everybody a farewell, and please have safe travels home, but I'm glad people are keeping me on this tonight. I get into things. Kathy.
Do I get a carryover of those 32 seconds? Ron?
You can have it.
The last
good.
seat at the dais. No, for those of you who know me, I don't have a lot of words, but I would like to share a few words. First of all, the outpouring of well-wishing has been overwhelming, and I can only attribute that to all the people the last 3 years that I have served with to move forward so many different things that previous to me were already on the right track. It was just a matter of coming in and embracing what the next steps needed to be. And so for those of you who sent me an email, stopped me in Publix or Walmart and just said thank you, I thank you back. It's been an honor to serve. It's been a privilege to serve. The joy of education is inspiring our youth, and I get to do that every single day. Even though that is going to end, I will share with you, Ms. Moore pushed me. She goes, you need to read more books, Ms. Middlestead. I'm like, I am not an avid reader, but I am reading a book right now. The name of the book is Live Life in the Crescendo. And some folks approached me and said, you're going to go out tonight with a bang. I'm like, that's not my style. But what does the word crescendo mean? And I'm not a musician, so I looked it up because I want to make sure I get it right. The loudest point reached in a gradual increasing sound. And so I think, if anything, that's my legacy and how I serve in education and doing what's right for kids. You're always trying to hit that loudest point to make a difference and ring a bell. And even though my work is going to be different moving forward, my most important work is in front of me because I've touched kids' lives. And so now I'm going to make a change and go out and touch community and adults' lives and whoever else would like to be touched in terms of what we can do moving forward with our time. I'm also grateful because of what I try to do is inspire others to grow and learn and step up when they're needed to. So Interim Superintendent Ms. Moore, she's poised. She's phenomenal. She is brilliant. She is an instructional leader who danced around me academically and taught me a few things along the way. But board, I challenge you, she will not be successful in these next 6 months serving as interim unless you champion behind her what she believes is right by kids. And it takes a village. Our teachers, our administrators, and our students need that to happen. So I'm very optimistic about the future of Flagler Schools. I have been a resident here for 23 plus years. I'm not moving. I love this area. I will continue to be a part of all that we do to support our kids, and I'll attend the events and do all those wonderful things. I'm not ready to submit my approved paperwork to be a volunteer just yet. Give me some time on that one. But it's been a joy. It's been so rewarding. And to finish my 3 years in the community that I live in right now has just been tremendous. So with that, all I would like to leave everyone with is continue to elevate excellence in all that you do. There's always obstacles in front of you, but turn them into opportunities. And thank you for the opportunity to serve. Hit that